In this video, you're going to learn how to handle the math associated with uniform circular motion. The equations down below aren't the exact equations we're going to use, but they're similar to what we're going to see in uniform circular motion. So let's get started. For problem number 1, my first task, I want to isolate t, so t will equal all the other stuff in this equation. I'm going to start by cross-multiplying. So on the left-hand side, that's not just v, but that's v over the number 1. On the right-hand side, I can see that's already a fraction. To cross-multiply, I'll take v times t squared. So v times t squared equals, and then that's 1 times 8 pi squared r squared. 1 times 8 pi squared r squared. My goal is to isolate t, so everything that's not t on the left-hand side, I'll divide by. In this case, I'll divide both sides by v. So there's my v. On the left-hand side, it goes away. That leaves me with t squared is equal to 8 pi squared r squared divided by v. To get rid of t squared, I'll take a square root of it. You cannot take the square root until you get the variable you're after all by itself on one side of the equal sign. So I couldn't have done the square root above where it said v times t squared. That would have given me the square root of v times t. So I'm going to do it when I've got the variable that I'm after all by itself. I'll do it to both sides of the equation. So the square root of t squared is t, and that's going to be equal to 8 pi squared v squared divided, that's an r. R squared divided by v, and then all that is under the square root. Let's take a look at problem number 2. On problem number 2, I'm going to try to isolate r. So r is going to equal all the other stuff that's in the equation. When I first look at this equation, I realize, wait a minute, there's a mass on both sides, an m on both sides. That will be divided out. That will leave me with the equation looking like a is equal to 2 pi r over t squared. Now my goal is to find r all by itself, so again, I'm going to cross multiply. Remember, that's not just a, but that's a over the number 1. So I'll take a times t2. That's going to leave me with a t squared. I said t2, but it's t squared. And that's going to equal 2 pi r times 1. To isolate r, I'm going to divide both sides by everything that's not r. So in this case, it'll be divided by 2 pi. 2 pi, divide the other side by 2 pi. R is equal to a t squared divided by 2 pi. And that's my equation. Now let's move on to number 3. For number 3, I want to isolate v all by itself. So I'll get something that says v equals all the other stuff. Again, I'm going to start with cross multiplication. So that's not just mu mg, that's mu mg over 1. First thing I'll do is I'll take mu mg times 4t squared. That'll be mu mg times 4t squared. And that's going to equal 1 times 2 pi v squared. Well, that leaves me with 2 pi v squared all times 1. To isolate v, I'll take everything that's not a v and divide both sides by that. So I'll divide both sides by 2 pi, and the left side also by 2 pi. And that'll leave me with v squared is equal to mu mg 4t squared, all that divided by 2 pi. Nice thing that happens right here, if you notice, I got a 4 on the top and a 2 on the bottom, and since everything's multiplied together, the 4 and the 2, they're just multiples of each other, so that becomes actually 2. So that'll make this, wrong variable. That'll make this v squared is equal to mu mg 2t, all that divided by pi. Now, I really didn't need to take that step, but just to make the math a little bit simpler. To isolate v from v squared, I'll take the square root of both sides. So I'll take the square root of v squared and the square root of mu mg 2 pi divided by pi. I'm running out of room, so I'll have to write the final answer over here. V is equal to mu mg 2t, all that divided by pi, and that's also square rooted. So that's the velocity. Number 4. Number 4, let's look for something different. Let's look for the mass on number 4. Again, I'm going to start with cross multiplying because of that fraction on the right-hand side. So that's going to be mu mg divided by 1. When I cross multiply, I'll look like this. So mu mg times 5t squared equals 1 times 3 pi v squared. That'll be 3 pi v squared. Now to isolate the mass, I'm going to divide both sides by everything that's not the mass. Since everything's multiplied together, I can do that. On the left-hand side, I'm going to divide by mu g 5t squared. On the right-hand side, I'll divide by the same thing, mu g 5t squared. That leaves me with the mass being equal to 3 pi v squared divided by mu g 5t squared.